Fatherhood. A journey built for the strong at heart. A compass that guides along the way. And an anchor that secures the foundation of our lives. The path of fatherhood may be difficult at times, but the reward is truly worth it. Join Richard Fredrickson as he talks with three men who each share their own views on the journey of fatherhood. Welcome to Father Chronicles.
Welcome back to Father's Chronicles, and I've got three great gentlemen who are going to share their stories with you right now. Todd?
Hi, I'm Todd Malin, father of three, been married for 23 years.
Eddie Monroe, believe it or not, father of five, been married 7 years.
I'm Cortez Mack, been married over 23 years, and it's a beautiful thing.
Here's my question. My first question for you is, what was it like hearing for the very first time, that's child number one, by the way, you were going to be a dad? And before you answer that question, where were you when you first heard that question? And you said, what? Todd?
I was ecstatic, happy. Of course, a little nervous.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right. We're going to give you time to come up with more things later on.
I was excited, a little bit scared because I'd never had that much responsibility.
Yeah.
So, but excited. It was a weird balance of both.
Listen, the first time I heard it, I was excited. I was about to shut down the block. I was happy. Like, I'm still happy today.
Yeah.
Wait until I think about tuition. Oh, no.
Well, I always like the word nugget, but I'm gonna do this. Did you have, for our viewers, some nuggets that you received as a new dad, or advice? Probably a lot of people giving you advice. What was the first really good advice you received? We're going to make you go first.
The first piece of advice that I got was just to be patient. That was the main one around the circle.
Be patient.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cortez?
The greatest advice I received was to love your children and father your children, and give them that unconditional care that you thought you didn't have, but you have to give it.
Yeah. Todd?
Be there for them through all their ups and downs, to console them when they're low and praise them when they're on their highs.
Yeah. We're going to stay with you. What is the best thing about being a dad?
Seeing the smile on my kids' face when they strive to reach their goals in life.
And you're next.
When you see them learn something that they couldn't do, and they try until they actually learn to do it.
Well, for me, the best thing about being a dad is that I've always had a desire to be a dad, a father, and having that opportunity is a blessing. And I take every opportunity, whether it's up or down. I still approach my girls, I have two girls, from a dad perspective. And, it's a blessing. And, they don't have to agree with me all the time, and that's fine. But it's a blessing.
Yeah. Now, some guy, years from now, on a show like this, is going to have three guys, and he's going to ask this question. So it kind of determines on how much of a dad you're going to be. But here's the question. Your own dad, what did you learn from him? We're going to start with you.
Well, unfortunately, At the age of 6, my biological father passed
Okay.
away due to health. So in this journey coming up as a little boy, teen to an adult, I was blessed to have a stepfather step in. We kind of got it rough because that was a stepfather. And me not having a biological father, I'd never had that connection to a father. So I was blessed to have uncles and born and raised in the church, so men in the church to keep me around. And as of today, I keep myself around accountable men of all ages, especially seasoned men, to help me grow. And one thing I always said about me that I love about me is that I'm always going to find a place where that to hold me accountable. And if we can't find men, older men, seasoned men, any culture of men to hold us accountable, then we're not going to be great men, period. So until we learn that accountability thing, then, we'll be all right.
Go ahead.
So another unfortunate truth. My father really didn't, I would say, act like a father should. There was a lot of problems going on at home. And similar to Cortez, I had to look for other role models. When I actually found out we were having our first child, I sought advice from people that I saw were raising their kids well, because I wanted to be like them and do things differently from what I saw at home.
Good. Todd?
My dad, I just tried to be like him. He was always hardworking and been there for me for everything, through literally everything, the highs and lows, and I just try to get my life and be like what he was for me.
Yeah. I'm going to change the question a little bit. I'm going to go back to you first, and because your relationship was a little different than the other two gentlemen here. What was the funniest experience you had with your dad?
There's been too many. There really has been too many. Probably when we had to put, unfortunately, my grandmother into a nursing home. I helped with the whole ordeal and the whole process. And just as an icebreaker, I'm looking down the hall, here comes my dad in a wheelchair race with my aunt. Just, and I'm like, I couldn't say nothing. I'm like, it was just, the moment was needed at that time.
It was a special moment.
Yeah.
You needed that. Cortez, if you would, what experience with your stepfather really made an indelible mark on your life? Is there something special between you and him?
Well, coming up, he was our baseball coach, so we did the baseball thing and sports. And to be honest, he was more of a mechanic and that type of father.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to fix on no cars. So that came with like a little challenge, because I was into arts, like theater and these things. And the blessed thing is that I still had to learn those things as a man, because even coming up with, as a college student, you learn these things, have your first car. You always don't want to call, your uncles and fathers. You want to try to figure it out. But sometimes I've learned that because of what he showed me, even if I had to call him back and say, I forgot about how to do this, he was there, And the other thing that I've learned is that he always kind of had an issue with employment, but he showed me what work ethics look like. And sometimes we look at that because a father may not work the way we expect them to be, but they still have a work ethic because he was still a provider.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot.
Yeah. Powerful experience.
Mhm.
Really a powerful experience.
Go ahead.
Experience?
Which one do you want?
The best one you can come up with,
The best one, let's see.
or whatever you have you want to share.
About an experience with my father?
Yeah.
Not everything was bad. The best experience that I had, let me see, was I remember a few times he would make the intent to try to let us have fun. I remember him taking us to the county fair in Indiana. That was our favorite thing to do, and it only happens once a year. So But yeah, those are good memories.
But you remember that.
I do remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What age was the first time you went to the fair?
First time I was probably around 10 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
And
going to
actually
come back to
taking
that,
my-
why
yeah.
that's important.
Yeah.
You know, let me do this again. I think you said this in the beginning of the show, but there's a reason why I want to ask it again.
Hmm?
How many children do you have?
I have 3.
You have 3,
5.
5,
2.
2. Okay. Now, we're looking and listening to 3 experienced fathers.
All right.
So, having said that, Cortez,
Oh my goodness.
what advice do you have as a dad to the new dads out there who just might be watching for the first time and scared to death?
Thankfully, I wasn't afraid because I wanted children. In the process of trying to have children, it was a journey because my wife was kind of hesitant at first, so I had to bribe her with, some White Castles. No, I didn't. But the best advice I can give to fathers is that understand that your child is a blessing. Your child is not a curse. Your child is not a mistake. And sometimes our anger shifts onto the child, and the child has no idea why there's resentment. And we need to be careful because our children feel that. And that's something could scar our children emotionally, mentally, as they get older, because they can connect with their father. The first connection, we always say, is the mother, and there's nothing wrong with it. But scripturally, the Bible tells us to honor your father and your mother. And sometimes we skip over the honor part and go straight to the mother. And the work that a father puts in to father their child could make a man feel less than. But we have to remember, our child is a blessing. And the best thing we can do as fathers is father our child. It reminds me of the song, that worship song by Valley Kingdom that says, "Father me." And sometimes we just have to get in a position where, God, help me be a better father. I know I may not be doing everything wrong or right, but help me continue to be and grow into a great father for my child or children. So that's probably one of my best advice.
Yeah. Hidden in that advice is also your advice of prayer,
Yes, sir.
because you're a praying man. Yeah. You don't want to miss that.
Yes, sir.
The man with 5 children has advice for you right now.
So the advice that I would say is you have to understand that your children are not involved in your past, and they don't deserve any backlash from it.
That's a good
And
advice.
because your kids are watching you,
Mm-hmm.
they're watching everything you do, and the way that you act is the example you're setting for them to act like in the coming years. And they don't need to see the anger or the hurt or anything. You need to teach them, especially as fathers. I think that we need to teach them more love, to know how to control their emotions, how to express them as well. Because me personally, I wasn't able to do that. And, I went through something later on in life because of that, but my children don't have to do that. I have to be able to nurture them as well. Not only the mother, the father also has to nurture them as well. And I feel like with this society, that's something that's not done. It's actually not encouraged. Men kind of stay away from all that stuff, but nowadays I feel like fathers need to step in and also take part in that, because it's a hard world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you see any changes
Yeah.
in this time we're in the 21st century, other than the fathers in previous years? Is there a difference in fathers today, do you think, in your
Okay.
world?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Oh, right. You're,
No,
you're,
go ahead.
You're up.
No, he wants you, because I might cause us to leave.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I forgot what the question was. Well, I know you got to be there for your kids. Like for me personally, I work midnights, so a lot of times I come home in the morning, I'm tired, probably irritable from work, and I know my kids come up asking me a question or something, I got to remember they don't know what went on at
That's
work or
right.
nothing, so I got to you got to hold it in, and you don't want to take your aggression from work or anything else out on your kids, because they're sincerely being there for you. You don't want them to be the brunt of everything that went on in your day. Just be there for them.
That's a challenge probably, because some of those days are not all that great.
Oh.
You know, some of those days are just not all that great.
Yeah.
And you have to come home and it's a little bit of theater at times, but it has to be done. I didn't ask the ages of your children. What age are?
28, 21, and 16.
7, 6, 5, 2, and newborn.
And you say a newborn?
Yeah.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
20 and 16. 20 and 15.
God took the strength of a mountain, the majesty of a tree, the warmth of a summer sun, the calmness of a quiet sea, the generous soul of nature, the comforting arm of night, the wisdom of the ages, the power of an eagle's flight, the joy of a morning in spring, the faith of a mustard seed, the patience of eternity, and the depth of a family need. Then God combined these qualities, as there was nothing more to add. He knew that his masterpiece was complete, and he called it Dad.
Welcome back to Father Chronicles. And for 1995, I will sell the outtakes in between these breaks. We'll tell you more about that next week. You, young man, look into one of those cameras, whichever camera they told us to look at, and the advice you have for the new fathers out there, the brand new guys out there.
Well, like I said before the break, just remember your kids that can come up to you at various times. When you're stressed out from work or anything, don't take it out on them. Always try to maintain your focus. That's about it.
Yeah. You know, it's what I tell my wife, that I'm practically perfect and almost always right. And that's probably what your children all think.
Yeah.
You know? And whether you have 2 children, 1, 3, 5, they're all, well, you tell me. And I'll ask you, because you've got 5.
Go ahead.
Are they all different?
Very
and how
different.
are they different, and how do you respond and react to those kids?
You know what? That's the funny thing about becoming a parent. You think you're going to know what they're like, but then they change. Then their personalities are extremely different, and you have to cater to each one. You have to know how to love them, how to listen to them. There's been a lot of instances where we try to correct one of our children a certain way by, saying something to them or doing, like trying to help them change what they're doing, their actions, and they each respond to different things, So you have to know how to adapt, So, and sometimes, when mom goes out and you're left with all the kids, with 5 of them juggling, they're all tiny and they all are hungry at different times, and some of them need diaper changes, and it just gets a little hectic, but you have to know how to juggle. Yeah.
Cortez, you're absolutely ready to go into this.
It's,
Come on, man.
man, with 2 girls. They pretty much were active the same, into dance and school. They're 5 years apart, but the 20-year-old is pretty much growing into her own. She's dating a young gentleman, so we went through that journey and still kind of dealing with it. It's not the fact that, and here's something I shared with her in front of my wife, in front of my youngest. My responsibility is to mold you into who and prepare you from a father perspective who God may send you to be a husband to. I clearly shared with her, I don't want you to be like me because God prepared me for your mother. Ask God to give you some qualities like your father and make sure he doesn't use profanity, abuse her, those things I don't do to my wife, never did it, and they've never seen me do any of those things in front of her. So hide yourself so your Boaz can find you and be prepared for it, and you be prepared for him. My youngest is dancing, so her mind is nowhere there. But if I may, I kind of want to go back to what this gentleman said about being tired. You know, it's unfortunate that men, fathers, husbands don't get the opportunity to come home to say, I'm tired. Because if we do, all the questions are going to be, what did y'all do?
Yeah.
It don't look like we get up and go to work. I mean, somebody like me may just stand at a bus stop and catch a bus and go somewhere and stay there for 8 hours. But we normally look at the mother doing everything. But I had a conversation with a family member, and that conversation came up of men don't do much. I said, well, it was on my couch in the house, and I said, everything in the house, my wife didn't put together. The couch, the table, putting that TV up, making sure oil in the car, gas. So where is the idea that men don't do anything? Men cook, men clean, we wash. We may not do it the way
Often.
but there are some fathers who do it often.
Yeah.
So I think it's unfair for us not to have the opportunity where our wives and children to understand that we get tired. We can get tired. So I love the way we're talking about it. So it's okay for fathers, husbands to get tired and be tired and not feel bad about it. Because we're human too. For somebody who assists in homegoing services, in the last 3 years, unfortunately, more husbands are passing away because they're sacrificing their own health and things for their children. But God told us to do that. When he said, husband, love your wife as Christ loved the church, and he gave himself for it. We're giving ourselves for our families. So we make a larger sacrifice that get ignored all day, every day. So I'm handing the baton back to one of y'all.
Correct.
I got 2 to live with me, and my daughter lives on her own yet.
Okay.
Boys are entirely different.
Yes.
My youngest, reminds me of Just Jack from that one TV show I used to be on. And then I got my oldest one, AJ, who ironically the set looks like his bedroom. He's also autistic. So you don't know what AJ you're going to get to sometimes, so you always got to remember that too. You always got to try to keep an open mind when they come to you.
Let me ask you a question that I just lifted out of left field. You talk about dads coming home tired. I know that the guys may be watching on a couch or chair or dining room, wherever they're at. But somewhere in that room is probably the mother-in-law, the mother of the wife, could be watching this as well. What would your advice be for the fact of the matter is when you come home from work and your mother of your children are tired and your wife is tired, what role do you play then? And how do you adapt to that role?
For me, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, for me, that's not a discussion. If she's tired, you just see. We're responsible adults anyway. So to kind of you do it the day you do, that's where a lot of the battles kick in at. Yeah. We're parenting. We're parents. We're adults. So we shouldn't even have those discussions. If you're tired, you're tired. Just say you're tired. It's okay. And vice versa. But I don't ever stop taking out the garbage. And there are times when I had to learn to be a house maintenance dude. That wasn't my field. I didn't know how to do anything mechanical at all. But I had to learn that in order to sustain as a father, to make sure the protection of the house and these things are together. It took me, listen, my father-in-law owned mechanic shops, and he showed me a whole lot. But see, I work in the office. Even to this day, when I don't know what to do, it's good I have those numbers to call. But there are times when those people who will come, who will show me how to do it. But I've learned to be humble enough to learn. I'm trying not to really get into the emotional side, because I've learned to be in a place where I continue to learn how to become a father, a husband. It doesn't stop.
No, it's always
Regardless
continuous.
if we're tired, we're drained,
Yeah.
we're exhausted, it doesn't stop.
It's ongoing.
God has given us the ability to adjust to our wives, our children, when our jobs are acting up. This is why we don't take anger home. But the scripture tells us this is why it's a good place for us to sit on the edge of a rooftop. We call it the man cave. But if anywhere we can go get a mind of peace, because our number one priority is our families. Oh
Yep.
my goodness, I am trying not to get messed up here. I'm trying to tell you. This thing is good.
You're fine for
Yeah,
That's
sharing.
how it is.
That's the one thing I try instilling in my kids, that family's always first.
Mm-hmm.
And my-
Number
yeah.
one. It's
Yeah,
everything.
that's true. In my instance, coming home, I know she's tired.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have a newborn toddler and terrible twos for real. That's a little tornado. We call them the tornado. And the other ones, you know, especially when you try to get them to clean up the toys, no, that doesn't happen. So, you know, I know she's gonna be tired, and something that especially a lot of the younger fathers that that are out there, I know that it's difficult because with the way the society is molding us up right now, with social media, with the movies, with the
Yeah.
TV, it's like, I'm a man and I don't have to do that. That's the whole aspect that we're taught, which is why it's important to have people like examples where we can actually look at them and learn from them and have them, role models. In a sense,
Yeah.
it's actually necessary to go look for a mentor nowadays. Before, I feel like it was like a choice. You wanted to get a little bit better, but now it's a necessity. I feel, especially for the younger generations, because this world is going ways that it shouldn't. And I know when I get home, she's going to be tired. I know that at that point, and she's told me, when you get home, I'm ready to just give you the baton and you deal with them because I can't anymore. And I'm going to go insane. And I understand that even if I'm tired coming from work, I'm tired physically, but mentally, she's about to break. And if I don't step in as a husband, as a father, then my kids are going to get her backlash of the stress she's going through.
Yep.
And then I, as a husband, I'm also going to get that because she's broken now through the day. And now, if I were just to turn around and kind of backlash back at her for like yelling at me or saying something to me, I have to understand that the whole day was difficult for her too. And that's something like what you said, you have to take that into mind. You have to take that into account, that she's also being a parent.
Yeah.
And when I get home, now it's my turn. When we're home together, we take turns doing everything. And it's weird how it works because you kind of learn to do it simultaneously without having to tell each other. We just start working together. One of us cooks, one of us cleans, one of us takes care of the baby's crying, I'll go get the milk. Like, nobody has to give instruction. It just starts working. But it only happens that way after you are real with each other, because then you can be real with your kids and give them real love, because you guys are letting each other grow, and like vent, because it's necessary to vent, especially with all this mental strain that's going on in the world right now. A lot of the younger people are really getting it really bad. I'm hearing left and right about people going into mental institutions because their stress is just so high. And there's even documentaries all over on Netflix. I saw a few documentaries of how many pills people are taking nowadays just to keep the same mind. And I'm a praying father too, and I know, the Lord hasn't given us the spirit of fear, but a sound mind and a power, and things of that nature. So it's hard. It's hard, It's easy to just say, I come home and everything's okay, but it's not like that all the
Perfect
time. I
world.
feel like it's maybe once in a blue moon that everything's gonna be okay, quote unquote. But you just got to put work into it. Try.
I'm going to do something that you're going to like, and these guys didn't think I was going to ask, but we want to do this, and we'll start right here. We haven't named the children, or the wife, or the mom. So let's do that, and we'll start with you.
My wife is Leanne, the Saint, and my daughter is Haley. I got a son, AJ, Anthony, and then my youngest son is Jackson.
Okay.
So my wife's name is Myrna, and my oldest daughter is Isabella. Then my son Gianni, then my daughter Ava, then my son Domini, and my daughter Ava.
My wife's name is Jerisha, but we call her Jerry for short. My oldest is Jariah, and my youngest is Kari.
That's great. You brought the subject up about social media and all of this stuff that goes on in the 21st century. So I'm going to use the D word on you and ask where you're at with that and how do you exercise that. And we're going to go to Eddie on this one because you've got 5. What kind of discipline do you use?
Discipline. See, this is something that I had to read books on. I had to ask advice on because, like I mentioned before, my childhood wasn't exactly the best, and I feel like my father took out his anger and passed out on us. So I had to adjust everything. I had to understand that when kids start crying, they're just being kids. They want food. They're tired, and I have, like, right now, all my kids are young, so I'm going through that even now. Especially I have a newborn. So discipline is something that we, the word also tells us to do that. But there's ways of doing it, ways that you're going to edify your child, ways that you're going to teach your child. And that's what we're learning to do, my wife and I. And we try to work together to do it simultaneously so that the kids don't see one front on one end and another front on the other.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's also difficult,
Yeah.
but we do encourage discipline because it's needed. I mean, in a world the way that it is now, discipline is very, very much necessary.
Yeah.
Discipline, and ironically tied to social media. I'm going through it now with my youngest. The phones, the kids live with their phones during this age. They're constantly surgically attached to their hand. It affects their grades, life, and everything, and their emotional status. My son, his grades, he was an honor roll student. Now his grades are because the phone, social media. He's been bullied numerous times, or so much he's actually been in the hospital for depression. Then the disciplined aspect, we try to limit the social media content, but that's how he talks to all his friends and classmates. So it's also, you got to reach a certain median there.
Yeah.
And it's hard. You don't want to go too much. You don't want to go too less.
Yeah, that's $1 million question and $1 million answer. I don't know if we have that answer yet.
Yeah.
Cortez?
Oh, well, personally for me, social media, I don't take it that serious. I post marriage stuff, funny stuff, and I don't take it personal because that's what it is, social media. But regarding my girls, I monitor, I be careful, they have their phones, it's attached somehow, is glued somehow, as a form of communication with school, friends, but they're entertaining other outlets,
I think we're all attached to our phones now.
Well,
We can't live without them.
pretty much.
I mean, it was set up that way.
Yeah.
Just go back to the Jetsons.
I mean, I can't get
Yeah.
to the other side of Joliet without
Yeah.
using my GPS, though.
Oh, listen, I thought we weren't gonna say that out loud.
That's a secret.
But
It's
even
true.
with social media, the fact that they entertain it, me and my wife try to be an example in front of them, because this is what we're dealing with now. You know, we didn't have that. We had comic books. We had DC Comics. We had outside soccer. We had a gathering of a social life. Now technology is taking over, and it's not going nowhere. You know, it's only getting more worse and worse.
Yeah.
But this is why our house need to be set at a tone of peace, prayer, parenting, and making sure that the D word, discipline, you know, is there. You know, those technology does carry a spirit, and we have to be aware of those spirits that follow our children.
Can I add something to that?
Sure, absolutely.
So, talking about the D word, discipline, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like culture also has a huge,
Of course.
huge
Of course.
influence in how discipline happens in a household.
Of course.
I mean, me speaking as a Latino, I know that our culture embraces the tactic of fear. If you don't do this, I will whip you. I will whoop you. I don't know how to say it in English, but I'll spank you.
Yeah.
We dread the so-called chancla, which is the little slipper. You know, your mom's gonna get that and throw it at you if you don't do this right, or you know,
That's
and
church.
or the belt. You know,
Wooden
and
spoon.
you know, nowadays, you know, I had to veer from that. It sounds funny when we say it like that, but in reality, like, I feel like, speaking from my culture, I feel like it goes overboard. Like, that's why a lot of the back then children, now adults, are repeating the process with their now children, and they're going overboard to the point where we lose the respect from our children. We lose the connection and the trust because it's just based on fear. It's a relationship based on fear. And discipline now is, it's not encouraged anymore because of the way that it was. So now I feel like people are being too lenient because they associate discipline with that, with the hitting and the scolding and all
Abuse.
of that, instead
Abuse,
of
yeah.
discipline being something positive, something that actually measures up your life, something that actually teaches you that you've done something wrong and teaches you the discovery and how to fix it, you know?
Because you know why? Because our parents were parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are friends now.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
spend more time trying to be their child's friend than parenting.
There we go.
When we were told no,
It meant no.
it meant no. We ain't had no more. We didn't say what you mean.
Yeah.
We didn't have no
I'm
back
talking
talk.
back.
What is back talk?
Right,
Exactly.
right. That's when that slipper came.
Right.
Hold that thought. We'll be right back.
Dear Dad,
Dear Dad,
for the puddles I fell in, the scraped muddy knees,
to the days that you gave me, the climbing of trees,
for the wisdom, the love, and calm inspiration,
to the safety of home, a solid foundation,
for all that awaits us in years yet ahead,
to the scaring of monsters from under my bed,
for the joy in my moments, the arms when I'm sad,
from the luckiest
and the
child
luckiest child
that calls you
my
my
dad.
dad.
Welcome back to Father Chronicles. We were talking about all the stuff out there impacting areas that we haven't even talked about, and that's the neighborhood and that input you have on your children. But there is one question I have for you. We're just about ready to wrap this up. What is faith, and what role does it, if any, play in your family? Eddie?
I feel like faith plays a huge role in my family. When I was going through the things that I went through in my household, the only good thing, I guess one of the good things that I saw in my parents was that they were churchgoers, and they would always preach about a God that had all the answers, and a book that had so many of everything in it. So when I came to know God and came to know Christ, I actually started looking at what they were talking about, and it was true. And right now with my kids, I try to apply everything that I can. There's so much advice in there, in that book, that really helps you as a father, to see how God is a father and how you can be a father in the same way. And I feel like faith is huge for my family. So yeah.
Your friend?
Faith is very huge in my family. From my wife to myself, we always were on lifetime church corps. We installed a lot of my sons. Even to this day, they're active in the church with my son on the worship band. It's been there through numerous times, through the downs and the ups. We've always, whenever we get down on ourselves or we're in a hole that we can't dig out of, we pray about it, and miraculously there's always God there that gets us through it. Albeit that's actually how we found this other church. We were down literally almost on the street, and this other church came and helped us out and turned our lives around, and still does to this day.
Great.
Oh, goodness. If it had not been for faith, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Not realizing at the age
Amen.
of 6 that I was not going to have a father. I could have went in so many different directions. And it took faith, unknowingly, to keep me in the direction that I am. Because my story, my testimony, it's not about being perfect, but I never been in jail. I never been in a gang. I never smoked, had alcohol. I didn't have a father, so it took faith to make a decision to follow a path that I saw many people were taking the wrong path. And if it, even at a young age, didn't have no guidance as far as an actual biological father, and I dealt with that issue, I could have strayed away. But it was faith that kept me to this day, and it's still keeping me. And that same faith I had to deal with early this year, with the fact that being in I make film, and I've been privileged to kind of win a few awards. And it dawned on me this year that I didn't have no biological father. Me and my wife lost a son. I have no biological brother. So I was in a position where I couldn't pick up a phone and say, man, Dad, yo, son, man, bro. I didn't have that. But it took God's faith to keep me to this point. That's why I thank him every day for his faith and his mercy, because that same faith that I saw that has kept me from the age of 6, I applied in my home. That's when I get to my home, I carry the peace. I used to have the marital struggles. I used to have the arguments. So what, we had a little heated fellowship, but I've learned to reel it back in, because if it had not been for the faith.
Yeah. You have what's called blessed assurance. It's a great
Listen,
song, but it is what
listen.
you've received. Yeah.
Listen,
I'm going to wrap this up. There are young fathers out there watching, and yeah, but then what? So, my good friend here is going to give it the first shot at advice for the young fathers out there.
You're always learning as you go. Look to God, rely on your wife for support, in your church. They'll always be there to support you through everything, and always be there to support your kids through all their ups and downs.
Yeah, so my advice for the new fathers, it's not easy. And sometimes when you feel like you can't handle it, it happens. But you do have to look for mentors. You do have to look for examples of what you think would be a good father, and ask them questions. Ask them what it's like, how they dealt with it, how to deal with it. Ask advice. Don't just sit there and think you know everything, because you don't. We've all been there, and it's not gonna work. So learn from the ones that have walked the path, and ask for advice. It'll really help you out.
listen to the fathers out there, the young ones, the seasoned ones, the every area father, I just want to let you know you are a great father. Regardless what you've experienced in your life, and God bless you to be a father, you are a great father because God did not make no mistake when he created fathers. Fathership is a journey, and we learn every day. And the only way we can become a great father is when we submit ourselves to the Father himself, to strengthen and guide us, because he's our only strength. Love your children. If you have a wife love her. But God bless you to be a great father, and you are blessed for it. Don't take your fathership for granted. You are the best father that God created you to be for your children.
Advice from you, the three of you. I just thought of this as you're talking about to the young dads out there. And we've got a couple extra minutes, I'm told. To the audience, there may be a couple of young guys who are not fathers, but are dating, perhaps daughters here. What advice do you have to those guys who are dating girls today?
Number one, be very respectful.
And if you're thinking about being a father, you need to ask questions again.
Yes.
Look at people with kids already and ask them what it's like, because I think we should look at that with more responsibility.
Yeah.
Because it's not something to take lightly. You're gonna be in charge to prepare a future citizen, a future person of the society, a future father, mother, husband, wife, whatever it may be. And it's a big responsibility, because everything you do when they're children, they will remember for the rest of their lives.
As a father, man, husband, male, it's okay to not know everything. Keep yourself in the wisdom. I keep myself around the oldest person in my family, which is my grandfather. He's almost 90 years old. And whatever issue I may have, it's not the fact that he's going to resolve it, but just getting his presence is a bound peace. Get around wise men and be open to learn. That's the only way we become a great man, a great husband, a great father, and most importantly, a great servant of God.
We're just about to wrap things up. And I just want to give you, all three of you, just a couple of minutes time to, is there anything I'm forgetting to ask? Is there something on your mind that you'd like to share before we say, so long?
Yes. Is there any way we can get some great wisdom from you?
Wow, that's not in my contract. No, I'm kidding. I've been married for 55 years. That's number one. And I had the old-fashioned father, discipline, that kind of thing. Great guy. I learned to love him when I was in my 30s. Not so much in my 20s or my teens or my preteens. And faith, so important, especially when I received Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. And I got baptized in somebody's backyard pool, so it doesn't make any difference who you are or what you are. And then listening to the stories of your children, my child was killed at the age of 16. So life is precious. And so, as you have said, so twice, these are precious human beings. Love them as much as you can. It's been a great pleasure being with the three of you. And I have to conclude now. We should go on a little longer, but we can't. And the journey of fatherhood, maybe, as you've heard here, hard at times, but the reward is truly worth it, whether you're raising a child, mentoring a friend, or even guiding a young person. The overall experience that fathers have is a position, and it's a privilege to have.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Take care.